Hey, what's up guys? This video is for section 1.4, which is the distributive property, and this is the second part 2 of this video. So make sure you guys check out my first part where I talk about combining like terms, but now we are going to talk about the distributive property. So first, let's go ahead and look at that property one more time. And when you guys have an expression like this one here, you have something outside of the parentheses, and it can be a number like this one, it can be a variable like a letter m, p, x, or it can also be a fraction. But you guys have something outside of the parentheses and you're multiplying. Notice here we don't have anything in between, so you are multiplying by the quantity of something inside. You're adding or maybe you're subtracting inside of the parentheses. So here the distributive property says that if you guys do have that, well, you can distribute, multiply the term outside times each term inside of the parentheses. So notice what this equals. A times the quantity of b plus c is a times b plus a times c, or if you're subtracting, a times b minus a times c right here. Now a good example is this one here. There's a 7 outside the parentheses times the quantity of x minus 5. So I multiply 7 times x right here, 7 times 5 right here. So 7 times x is 7x, and 7 times 5 is 35. You guys keep the minus in between. So this one here is your answer. Now sometimes you are able to combine like terms, so you guys have to do that as well. If you can simplify more, you can combine like terms, you have to. So let's go ahead and try a few examples on how to use the distributive property. So this one's every example has something outside of the parentheses and you're multiplying by something inside. So let's go ahead and look at the first one. Remember that we are simplifying. So here I have 7 times the quantity of 3w minus 5. So I'm going to multiply 7 times 3w. So I'm going to put 7 times 3w here. And then I'm going to multiply 7 times 5. Bring down the minus, the one in the middle. So this minus, you bring it down. And I'm going to multiply 7 times 5. Now, when you multiply 7 times 3w, you just multiply the coefficients, the numbers. 7 times 3, that's 21. And you guys keep the variable, w, 21w. 7 times 3 is 21w. Minus 7 times 5 is 35. Those two are not like terms because 35 doesn't have a w. This number has a w, so they're not like terms. So our answer is right here. Now this one here is kind of like backwards because you guys have the parentheses p minus 3 times, and then you're multiplying by m. But the idea is the same. You guys want to distribute, you guys want to multiply this term outside of the parentheses times the one inside. Now why is it backwards? Well, because one of the property in mathematics, which is called the commutative property of multiplication, says that you guys can switch the order when you multiply and you guys will get the same answer. So this one you will multiply by p, and let me just draw an arrow so you guys can see what I am multiplying. So m times p, I'm going to bring down the minus, and then you multiply m times 3 right here, m times 3. So m times p, those are different variables. So you guys cannot combine, multiply, you just put them side by side because they're different variables. So we have mp minus this one, m times 3. Well, it's very common to have the number when you multiply in front of the variable. So that m times 3 is going to become 3m, just like that. Now you guys check like terms. These two are not like terms because this m has a p and this m has a 3, so they're not the same terms, not like terms. So that is my answer. Now this one here, you guys will be able to simplify because when you multiply and you have a fraction, you guys can reduce fractions, you can simplify fractions. So let's go ahead and multiply the fractions, the ones inside of the parentheses, times the number outside. We will have a 20 here. So I'm going to multiply by this one here and this one over here. So I'm going to show you guys with arrows. 20 times m, that's 20m. You just put it side by side. Notice I don't have the times in the middle, but you guys can really multiply a letter with the number, so you just put them side by side, 20m. And then you guys multiply 20 times 1/4. Now let me show you guys the long way to multiply, but there's another way you guys can also look at it when you multiply. Since we do have a fraction 1/4, I'm going to turn that 20 into a fraction. There's a 1 on the bottom. I will multiply the top number, 20 times 1. So that's going to be 20. So I'm going to put plus, I'm going to bring down the plus in between, 20. And the bottom, 1 times 4, that's going to be 4. So over 4. You guys can simplify this fraction, 20 over 4. 20 divided by 4 is 5. So you guys can have your answer, 20m plus 5. And that's your simplest form. You guys want to simplify all the way until you guys cannot do anything else. So if you can reduce fractions, you guys have to. 20 over 4 is 5. 20m, well, that says the same. So another way you guys can look at it when you multiply fractions with the number, you multiply the number outside times the top number. So 20 times 1 is 20, and keep the denominator. So multiply 20 times the numerator, 20 times 1 is 20, and keep the denominator on the bottom. So 4 on the bottom. And that's because if you multiply 1 times 4 or 1 times any number, it's going to be itself. So you guys can keep the bottom number and then reduce the fraction. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at some more here. We do have parentheses, we have numbers outside, and I do see more than one x around. So I am going to combine those like terms. So here, I will try to zoom into this one. I am going to use the distributive property. So notice that I'm going to have to multiply a negative times the quantity of 3x plus 4. And outside, I have a plus 2x. So first of all, this negative in front of the parentheses, there's an invisible 1. You are multiplying by -1 to the parentheses. Nothing in between. Notice the 1 in the parentheses, there's nothing in between. So what that means, you are going to multiply -1 times 3x. -1 times 3x, that's -3x. You multiply -1 times +4. That's -4. So notice what I'm doing right now. You multiply -1 times +4. There's a plus. So that becomes -4. And this one is outside of the parentheses. So you're not going to distribute. You're not going to multiply by -1. You just bring down the plus 2x here. Now here is where you guys need to combine like terms. So I do have -3x and +2x. Those are like terms because they have the same variable. The -3 coefficient and the 2 coefficient have the same variable. The 4 in the middle is a constant, doesn't have a variable, so I cannot combine that with anything else. So I'm going to combine -3 plus 2, that's going to be -1, bring down the variable x, and then you guys bring down the -4. Now you guys don't need the -1 next to the x. You guys need the negative but not the 1. You guys can make it an invisible 1. So in other words, your answer can be -x minus 4, because we don't need that 1 in front of the x. You can make it invisible. Now this one here, well, you guys need to distribute the numbers outside to the ones inside of the parentheses. Now notice that we do have a 2 minus 3 times, there's nothing in between, the quantity of 5x plus 7 plus 2x. Order operation PEMDAS, you need to multiply before you subtract. And the common mistake I see every year, students like to subtract before they multiply. So do not subtract these two numbers before you distribute the 3 to the parentheses. So here's a little bit tricky because you also have to understand the problem. We do have a 2 minus 3 times the quantity of 5x plus 7. This minus 3 is actually a -3. So you guys are going to distribute, you're going to multiply this number times the 5x here, and then times the 7 over here. So first, let me bring down the 2. The first 2 is right here. I'm going to multiply negative 3 times positive, there's an invisible plus, 5x. Negative 3 times 5, that's 15, negative 15. So we put negative 15x. You guys bring down the variable. Then you multiply negative 3 times positive 7. Negative 3 times positive 7, that's negative 21. And finally, you bring down the plus 2x right here. This 2x is not inside of the parentheses, so you guys do not multiply. You guys are going to combine like terms. But remember, the standard form is where you guys start with the highest exponent of the variables, and then you guys descend. And the last one usually is the constant. So I do see a constant, 2 minus 21 is a constant, but I do have x's. The negative 15, so I'm going to put a box here, negative 15x plus 2x. One's negative 15, one's positive 2x. You combine those two numbers. You have to subtract because they have different signs. Negative 15 plus 2, that's negative 13x. You guys keep the same variable. Now you guys combine the constants. So 2, there's a positive 2 right there. And you guys have a minus 21 over here. So 2 minus 21, that's negative 19. So you guys have a negative 13x minus 19. Those are not like terms because 19 doesn't have an x. So it's not the same thing as negative 13x because of the x. So my answer is negative 13x minus 19. Now this one here, where you guys have two parentheses. So we're going to have to distribute 2 times. So I do have this number 2. I'm going to multiply by 3. That's going to be 6. 2 multiplied by x. Now remember that x has an invisible 1 in front of the variable. If a variable doesn't have a number, it is an invisible 1. Keep that in mind. And 2 times 1 is positive 1. That's 2. So plus 2x. You bring down the variable x. Then you guys are going to distribute the minus 2. So you guys are going to multiply times 1x. There's an invisible 1. Negative 2 times positive 1, that's negative 2x. And then you guys multiply the next one. Negative 2 times positive 4, negative 8. Now, the ones in the middle, I'm looking at the numbers with the variables. You always start with the variable that has the highest exponent. So we have a positive 2x, a minus 2x. Well, guess what, guys? Those two cancel. So I can cross out the 2x. 2 minus 2 is 0. Positive 2 minus 2. So they cancel. So I don't need to put that 0x. I know they cancel. But I am going to combine positive 6 minus 8. Those are constants. They're like terms because they don't have a variable. 6 minus 8, negative 2. So my answer is right there. Now this one here is a little bit challenging. You guys have multiple not exponents, multiple parentheses. You guys have to distribute, and then you guys have to combine like terms. So let's go ahead and look at the first parenthesis. Remember, we are simplifying, so we have to use distributive property. So I'm going to multiply 6 times 5x. That's 30x. 6 times 5 is 30. Multiply the coefficients and keep the variable, 30x. And then you multiply 6 times negative. There's a minus, negative 1. So 6 times negative 1. That's negative 6. Now that's the first parenthesis. Now I'm going to distribute the second parenthesis. I do have a negative 3 times x. That's negative, and you guys have an invisible 1 here. So that's negative 3. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3x. You guys bring down the variable. Multiply the next one. Negative 3 times negative 2. Positive 6. And then you guys bring down the next term, minus 7x. That's not inside the parentheses. So I'm going to bring down the minus 7x here. But now I do have a positive 2, and I'm going to distribute times the first one. So positive 2 times negative 10x. Positive 2 times negative 10, that's negative 20. Keep the x. and positive 2 times negative 2, you're multiplying, so they don't cancel. You have to multiply positive 2 times negative 2. That is negative 4. And the last one, guys, we do have a constant, plus 4. So you bring down the plus 4. Now you guys have to look for like terms. So let's go ahead and start with the x's, the numbers that have variables. I have a 30x. So let me just put a bubble. We have 30x here minus 3x from left to right. Let's go ahead and do that addition and subtraction. So 30x minus 3x, that's 27x. So keep that in your head. 27x minus 7x, oh, that's 20. So 20 minus 20x, that cancels. So let's do that again. You guys have 30x minus 3x, that's 27x. 27x minus 7x, that's 20x. And 20x minus 20x, 20 minus 20 is 0. So you guys can cancel the x's. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Cancel, 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 cancel. We're not going to have an x. Now let's go ahead and look at the constants. You guys have negative 6 plus 6, cancel. So I'm going to cancel those two. Cancel and cancel. And over here, you guys have a minus 4 plus 4. Cancel. They're zeros. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. Cancel, cancel. So if you guys look at the expression, everything cancels, guys. So when everything cancels, we don't have any variables, any numbers. And the amount of nothing is 0. So you guys have an answer of 0 for this expression. Now let's go ahead and use what we know to write an algebraic expression, use the distributive property, and combine like terms. So now you guys will put everything together you guys have learned so far, and you have to understand how to use those mathematical models. You have to know how to translate into an algebraic expression, and you have to simplify the algebraic expression. So it says here, we want to write and then we want to simplify. So let me just circle those two things. We want to write and simplify the algebraic expression. So first, we have twice the difference of 3x and y increased by 5 times the sum of x and 2y. So first of all, you guys know what's twice. Twice means you are multiplying by 2. So I'm going to start by saying I am going to multiply. So I'm going to multiply 2 times what? So let's go ahead and understand what we need to multiply. We are going to multiply 2 times the difference. So there has to be a minus. I'm going to put a minus up here so you guys know we have to subtract the difference of 3x and y. So I'm going to subtract 3x and y. So I have 3x minus y. So guess what, guys? Since I am multiplying all that difference by 2, I'm going to use parentheses. So let me erase, let me erase this times in the middle, and I'm going to use parentheses instead of times. So I have 2 times the difference of 3x and y. Increase. So increase, we know that's plus. So let me put the plus right here. We're increasing what? What are we adding? We are adding increase by 5 times. So 5 times. 5 times what? The sum of x and 2y. So the sum, we know that's plus. What are we adding? X and 2y. So x plus 2y. And guess what, guys? Let me erase that times in the middle. And I'm going to use parentheses because I am going to multiply that 5 times the sum of x plus 2y, or the sum of x and 2y. So guess what, guys? That's my expression. You guys have a number outside the parentheses, and you guys can distribute, and you guys can combine like terms. So let's go ahead and distribute. You multiply 2 times 3x, that's going to be 6x. 2 times negative 1, there's an invisible 1, y. That'll be negative 2y. And then you guys are going to multiply the positive 5 there's a plus, so positive 5 times 1x, there's an invisible 1, that's positive 5x, 5 times 1 is 5, and positive 5 times positive 2y, so that's positive 10y. Now, let's go ahead and do this alphabetical order. X is before the y, and that's your standard form. You always want the highest exponent first, and alphabetical order for the variables. So I am going to combine the x's first. 6x plus 5x, 6 plus 5, that's 11. Keep the variable x. And I have negative 2y plus 10y. Those are like terms because they have the same variable. Negative 2 plus 10, that's positive 8y. So my answer for this expression, when I distribute, I have the expression and I simplify it, is 11x plus 8y. And this one here is just an application problem where you guys have to write an expression, and actually we're going to use the expression to find the answer for the question. So let's go ahead and read the question first. Dining out. The Ross family recently dined at an Italian restaurant. Each of the 4 family members, so there's 4 people, order a pasta dish that costs $10.50, a drink that costs $1.50, and dessert that costs $2. So they're saying every member, there's 4 people in that family. Every person or every member, they order a pasta dish, a drink, and a dessert. So part A, it says, write an expression that could be used to calculate the cost of the Ross diner before adding tax and tip. So before they actually go to the cashier and ask for their ticket or they want to pay, that's before taxes and not including tip. We want to write an expression. So let's go ahead and understand what the problem is. So keep this in mind. We want to write an expression. First of all, we need to set up our variables. We need variables. So you guys can use X, Y, you guys can use M, P, A. Now remember that you have to understand the problem. So let's go back and understand what they're talking about. We know that those 4 people, they order a pasta dish, a drink, and a dessert. So those are my 3 things that I need to include in my algebraic expression. So I'm going to say P is for pasta. I'm going to say D is for drink. Okay? And I cannot say D again for dessert because D represents drink. So let's go ahead and use a different variable for dessert because it's not the same as drink. And I'm going to use S. It doesn't matter what variable you guys use, but I'm using S because I saw the 2 S's in the middle, dessert. So I need to use a P, a D, and an S. So let's go ahead and understand what this means. They do give us a price for each one of those items. Pasta is 10. I'm going to circle here the price, $10.50. Drinks are $1.50 and desserts are $2. So when you guys want to find the cost, well, you have to multiply the price of the item times how many you guys are taking with you. It's just like a store. If you guys know that a pie costs $3, regular apple pie, and you guys want to buy 3 apple pies, well, how much are you going to pay? Well, you multiply $3 times 3 pies. So 3 times 3 is $9. So we have to do the same thing. I'm going to use the prices for each item. So right now we have pasta. So we have $10.50 for pasta plus the price for drinks, which is $1.50 for drinks. So I put a D representing the drinks and I have a P representing the pasta, plus $2 for my dessert. Okay, so part A, we got it. We have our expression. We have 10.50P plus 150 D plus 2S. P, pasta, D, drinks, and S is desserts. Now part B. Part B, it says here that you guys want to find the cost of dining out with the Ross family. Now, keep in mind, let's go back. How many people actually went to eat? 4 of them. So P is going to be 4. That's the number of people that were dining. D is 4 because they got 4 drinks. And S for your dessert is also 4 because there were 4 people ordering pasta, drinks, and dessert. So my total cost, I'm going to use C for cost right here. Total cost will be $10.50 times 4. So that's 4 pastas plus $1.50 times 4. That's actually drinks, 4 drinks, plus $2 times desserts, which is 4. And you guys can simplify that algebraic expression or numerical expression. 10.50 times 4 plus 150 times 4 plus 2 times 4. That's going to equal $56. So how much are they going to pay? And this is before taxes. Remember, this cost is before taxes and not including tip. So it's $56. And once they go ahead and go to the register, they're going to add the taxes. And then depending on how much tip they leave, $5, $3, whatever amount, that's going to be added to the 56. But at least they will pay, that family of 4 will pay $56. All right, guys, so this concludes my video. This is the second part for section 1 for distributive property. Make sure you guys check out my first video for the same section, distributive property. And if you guys like my videos, you guys can hit that like button, and you guys can also subscribe to my channel. Make sure you guys practice your math, and I'll see you guys later.